So the Wahoo Tickr Fit does what it's supposed to do, which is collect heart rate data that's going to be pretty comparable to a chest heart rate strap, but it's going to be much more reliable and accurate than a wrist-based optical heart rate sensor. But I'm actually a little bit disappointed with it. So in all these tests, I'll show the Tickr Fit data compared to a Garmin HRM Tri-Chest heart rate strap, as well as some other wrist-based optical heart rates so you can see the differences. The charts may be a little bit off by scale because of slightly different stop times, but I'll mainly be comparing the overall trends as well as specific data at certain points in time. So for this first run, it started out great, nailing the exact same heart rate as a chest strap. At around 3 minutes in, again, it matched really well, and you can already see how wrist-based heart rate can be quite off at some times. At nearly 8 minutes in, we have some pretty consistent data across all devices, but at around 13 minutes, you'll see a slight discrepancy because the Tickr Fit had a gap of around 15 seconds where it didn't have any data. At the end of this run, I did 3 short sprints which the chest heart rate strap recognized, but the Tickr Fit only logged one of those spikes. The part where it drops off at the end is because I stopped the Tickr Fit first and it took me a little bit to stop the other 2 devices. Now, here's an example of a steady state treadmill run where it starts out just a hair lower than both other devices, but again, you can already see how far off a wrist-based sensor can be. The third and fourth data point is where you can start to see some discrepancies where it's a bit higher, and then for the rest of the run, it did pretty decent, but it did have some spikes and drops here and there where you can see the chest heart rate strap stayed very consistent. For cycling, it was actually pretty on point for the most part and followed trends really well throughout this indoor session. And then for mountain biking, which involves a good amount of gripping to the handlebars, again, not that bad, but you will notice it did lose heart rate for about 5 minutes there around the 33-minute mark, which could have been either a loss of connection with the paired device, or it could have just been a bit too much jarring. Now for weight training, and I know you may be thinking, that's the wrong graph on the bottom, but I assure you, it is correct, and this shows how bad most watches can get for weight training. But overall, it did pretty well for an activity that involves both wrist flexion as well as forearm movement and gripping, where an armband could get some weird results. Again, not quite as sensitive as a chest strap, but it followed trends throughout and also tracked the cooldown period well. Rowing is going to be another activity that could stump an armband, and just like weight training, it did okay with the overall trends, but you will see it had some spikes here and there, but still much better than a wrist-based sensor which tracked the trends but wasn't that sensitive during the sustained efforts. So for data collection, it does pretty darn well. It's not going to be quite as sensitive as a chest heart rate strap, but it's going to be much better than any of the wrist-based optical heart rate sensors that I tried. But now let's go over the hardware, and you may have noticed that I did this in the opposite order than I usually do for a good reason. The unit itself is a nice, solid, low-profile device that has an on and off button, and it powers up and down within about 3 to 4 seconds. It'll pair to both Bluetooth Smart and Ant Plus compatible devices, and I was actually able to pair to both a Bluetooth Smart and Ant Plus device concurrently with an Edge 520 as well as an iPad mini without any issues. I very much like the indicator lights that show whether the device is on, connected, transmitting, as well as charging. Battery life is going to be the big selling point for this device, and it definitely delivered. After a full charge, which took about an hour from fully drained, I was able to get about 27 hours. So not the 30 hours as claimed, but it says up to, but I'm perfectly happy with that performance. Good to go there. It charges via a neat little magnetic charger which has a strong connection, so you won't have to worry about it unplugging accidentally. It is going to be waterproof / water resistant with an IPX7 rating, which will protect it down to about 5 feet, but it's not going to be designed for swimming. But now let's talk about this strap, which is why I actually regret spending $80 on this. This is after 10 days of use. So when I first tried on the strap, the Velcro attached about halfway through the length of the large strap. But after 10 days of use, now it stretches nearly all the way to the other edge. And then there's the delamination. It started to separate within about 4 to 5 days of use, and this is now how it looks after just 10 days. So I thought maybe this was just a manufacturing defect of the large strap, or I got a bad batch. Well, after just 5 days of use with the small strap, again, I'm already starting to see the delamination as well as the same stretching that happened to the large strap. Now, you may be thinking this is kind of a minor thing, but I've only been using these for 3 weeks now, so at this point, I know there's going to be a finite life out of these straps, so in a month or two, both of these straps could disintegrate into a hot, steamy mess. And it's not like I have toxic acid-like sweat or anything, and I've been rocking Garmin chest straps for years without any issues. And I did see on some forums of other people experience the same thing, so I know I'm not necessarily the only one. For $80, I was definitely expecting a little bit higher quality than what I personally experienced. And since it does not have all the features of the Scosche Rhythm Plus at the exact same price, $80 may be a little bit high for this device even with its great battery life. And just to add, I'm a big fan of Wahoo products, and that's probably why I'm a little bit disappointed. So compared to the Scosche Rhythm Plus as well as the Polar OH1, I'd probably only get this if you really needed that 30 hours of battery life, but just know going in that these straps may last you about the same time. And in regards to my opinion on arm straps versus chest straps, I think it's really going to depend on your activity. It does collect pretty good data, especially for activities involving wrist flexion and gripping actions, but I did find it to be less comfortable in those situations since your forearm is flexing and moving. So for me, I would almost prefer a chest strap for those types of activities because I actually think they'll be a little bit more comfortable. For running, most watch heart rate sensors actually are really not that bad. Not perfect, but not bad. So for running, I'm not sure that an additional device is necessary, and with this one in particular, it won't be as sensitive as a chest strap. For cycling, I think this would actually be a pretty good option since wrist-based optical heart rate is kinda so-so. Oh, and lastly, I did forget to mention earlier that it does strap to your leg and it does collect the exact same type of data. So if you don't like to wear a chest heart rate strap but want to collect more accurate data than what a watch will provide, this will definitely do an okay job with really good battery life. But with the strap issues, I'd really take a hard look at the Scosche Rhythm Plus or the Polar OH1. The new Scosche Rhythm 24 is coming out soon with 24 hours of battery life versus 30 hours of the Tickr Fit, but it is also $20 more at $100. But I will be comparing them both side by side, so subscribe to the channel to get a notification when that video comes out. Thanks so much for watching, and hit me up in the comments of any questions that you may have about this device, and while you're down there, hit that like button if you don't mind, and we will see you in the next video.